It's that time of year again, boys. Tony Brackett's back in your life. Boys, it's March. I got all of the boys here that watch college basketball that are diehard college basketball guys. I got Ethan. I got Taylor. I got Mike Malley in the building. Everybody's going to pick their team. They're going to defend their team that they think is going to make it to the national championship. That's going to be a little bit later on in the show. But to start Tony Brackets, there's been a lot of talk about March. Okay, there's been a lot of talk about the brackets. How, there's no Cinderellas. It's kind of been boring. The only great game has been the buzzer beater that Derek Queen hit, which people say was a travel. Dorks, get over it. Don't steal a great moment from us. I said on the show earlier, do not steal a great moment from us Zebras. Okay, we do too much in basketball for the Zebras to go and take a perfectly great March moment away from us by calling it a travel. Please get out of here. So, winners and losers from the opening round of the tournament. Not a ton of upsets, right? We're looking at the Sweet 16 here. We've only got one double-digit seed, the Arkansas Razorbacks, led by the boy, Coach Cal, in that suit, by the way. What would you say that suit, what's the pattern of that suit? Is it houndstooth?
Plaid.
Is it plaid?
Plaid.
Tablecloth,
picnic cloth.
Somebody joked that it was the tablecloth from the Italian restaurant, Rick Pitino.
Okay, let's start there. That's a perfect place to say, thank you, Ethan. That's a perfect place to start. Rick Pitino and the Johnnies. The signs were there. As everybody in the other room shakes their head, yes. The signs were there. We should have known this team was not that good.
You can only go so far when you're shooting 20% from three, 60% from the free throw line. Taylor said this earlier this week. There's a reason that Rick Pitino said when they shoot the ball, it makes them want to themselves.
We wanted to believe, though.
We wanted to. We were all in. Like, behind the scenes, you and I, Taylor, we were very close to running a Johnny stream throughout the playoffs, or throughout the tournament, excuse me.
I'll say this. When the Gators were getting close to being a number one seed, and I'm like, okay, looking at around the matchups, it's like, give me St. John's.
Wow. It just looked, when you were watching the game, it's like almost everybody on their team was shooting with the opposite hand. Like, nobody was shooting with their dominant hand. It was like, all right, let's play the game with the opposite hand. RJ Lewis, please, let's not even start there. Why did you take him out of the game? He was horrible. That's why. Any good coach would have done the same thing. Anyways, we should have known that it's going to be a very short-lived tournament for the Johnnies. But, boys, biggest kind of 30,000-foot view from what was going on in the tournament in the first weekend. Chalk just all over the place. Number one seeds seem to be the best teams in the country. Is that weird? Because it usually, the last couple of seasons, there's been a strong number one seed that's been, all right, that's the team to beat, whether it's been UConn, whether it's Kansas. Was Baylor a number one seed a couple of years ago when they won in 21? Were they a 1 or 2 seed?
They were 1 or 2. I don't remember, but it was a top seed for sure.
Virginia, when they won, they were a number one seed? So it's been very heavy. Like, all right, there's one team that can kind of be this great team, and we all think it's Duke. I don't know if Taylor thinks it's Duke, but the rest of us think it's Duke. Taylor,
you sure about that?
Okay, maybe Ethan.
I wonder what team Ethan's going to defend later.
Not like he's wearing the shirt or anything. Duke is by far the best team, but you can make a case for every number one seed that's obviously still left. Duke is great. Florida, regrettably, as we sit here and Ethan has a maniacal smile on his face, Florida's a great team led by a great guard, right? Houston, who I think Malley is probably the number one Houston fan that's never been to the state of Texas.
Yes, that is correct.
Is there a bigger Houston fan that's never been to the state of Texas?
If there is, I'd love to meet him and commiserate on why we became Houston fans together.
Cougar pride there. So we've got Florida, we've got an Auburn. How do we feel about all that? Auburn is the least of the 3 number ones, right?
I had Auburn going out to Creighton, especially after the way Creighton played in that first game. Who'd they beat? Louisville. They looked like a really, really big threat to Auburn, and then it just never came to fruition. Like, Auburn, that was a huge performance for them. They needed to kind of say, hey, we're still a number one seed here. We've been the number one team in the country pretty much the entire season, fair or foul, in that regard. But that was a dominant performance over Creighton, and they really needed that one to kind of get themselves right again.
Yeah, and the stretch that they limped into the tournament on, they lost at Texas A&M, a top 25 team.
Tournament team. Yeah.
They lost at home in a rivalry game to Alabama in overtime. They beat Ole Miss, a tournament team, and then they lost to Tennessee. So it's not like the demise of Auburn going into the tournament
greatly exaggerated.
Like, this is still one of the best teams by far.
You're talking about all tournament teams that they lost to, and teams that are obviously still in it too. But if I'm handicapping number one seeds, I feel like they're the one team that could get exposed. I feel like Purdue's not as good as they've been the last couple of years. Braden Smith's been good, but it just feels like Purdue always shits the bed, right? Like that's been the sentiment for the last 20 years.
It's Matt Painter. It's the coach. You don't have any confidence when you have Matt Painter on the sidelines.
Was Robbie Hummel still running around or no? I feel like how long was he in Robbie Hummel in school? 10 years? It's an insane amount.
Who was in school longer, Robbie Hummel or Perry Ellis at Kansas?
I think Perry Ellis is still at Kansas, so I think he's the winner.
Wow. That can't be true.
No, he's not.
Okay, all right. Making sure, just in case.
To go back to your point, Tony, about the top teams being the top teams, that's not only true this season, it's true historically. So I got a stat courtesy of Cyclone Larry on Twitter.
Wow.
2025 Auburn, Duke, and Houston. All three of them are top 10 KenPom teams of all time since KenPom ratings have started. So it's not just that this year the best teams are better than the bad teams this year. They're historically great, and they would be the best teams any year.
Well, I think we also knew coming in there were 6 teams, right? Amazing stat by Mally.
Bro, I had this stat last week, and I've been literally looking for it for the entire week.
Yes, sir.
No, anyway, I think coming into the tournament, there were kind of a separation between the top 6 teams and teams. People have been saying for the last 3 weeks or so, there are 6 or 7 teams that are legitimate contenders to win a title, and everybody else is just kind of trying to get to the Final Four maybe. But when it all comes down to it, it's going to be Florida, Duke, Auburn, Tennessee, I guess you could say, Houston, and then throw an Alabama or whatever in there somewhere else. So I think this year there's been a lot of good teams, but there's been a distinction between the top teams and then everybody else.
It almost feels like there's that second tier of teams that have that gear that they can get into the first tier of teams, but are still a little bit just trying to get there. The Michigan States of the world.
Michigan State is exactly how it's
the Alabamas, Kentuckys, Tennessees. It's they're right there, but it's what's going to stop them, whether it be coach, whether it be play, that is not going to allow them to compete against the Auburns, the Floridas, the Dukes, and the Houston Cougars. All right, let's go through real quick. We're going to burn through the Sweet 16 matchups, and then everybody's decided a team that they're going to be the staunch defender of. We've got 2 of them. We know who Ethan's going with. We know who Mally's going with. I don't know who Taylor's going with, because right now Taylor's in a bad spot, right? Taylor is he the guy that says, if you beat my team, I want you to win the whole thing? Is he that kind of guy? Does he want Ole Miss? Is he a running Reb? Or is he going to go with a team like Alabama that he's got very strong emotional ties to the program? Obviously, we know why. I don't know. I'm debating whether to. You let me know when we hit the matchup where you feel like this is the team that you want to defend. You bring it up. So let's start Maryland, Florida, the Crab 5. Derek Queen, who's been really good this season, right? Lottery pick, has that game winner. He thinks he's from Baltimore, and that's why he hit that shot. That's why he's so tough. From a Gator perspective, obviously having the better player in the game with Walter Clayton Jr., how do you see this from a Florida perspective against a Maryland team who's scrappy, young, maybe an upset alert?
I think I saw a stat about teams that have hit a buzzer beater are 2-5 in their last 7 in the game following a buzzer beater against the spread. So that's a concerning trend for teams that have hit buzzer beaters. Maryland coming off that emotional high, but you get that break. You get that week off to kind of cool off. I don't know. I feel good. Look, for me, any team, you can throw any team at me right now with the way the Gators have been playing, especially the last 5 games or so. I'm not going to be afraid of anybody.
You were shitting yourself in the UConn game.
Absolutely.
Okay,
and you have the 2-time defending national champions coming in and a great coach in Dan Hurley coming into that game. When I saw the draw and I saw UConn in the second round, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. The best team we've had in 10 years, 11 years, and in the second round we got to knock out the 2-time defending national champions. That's a brutal draw. I was shitting myself with 6 minutes left in the second half, but I think Florida they had been riding such a high recently because they kind of ran through the SEC tournament, dominated Tennessee, dominated Alabama, dominated Missouri. They needed one of those where they win late to kind of get their confidence right and say, we can beat anybody and we can win in any way possible.
I will say this about Florida. It is awesome going into a game being like our best player
is way better.
Is better than your best player.
Right.
And that's the case for Florida in almost every matchup they're going to get except for Duke and Cooper Flag.
So you're saying Walter Clayton Jr. far and away the second best player in the country? You don't think anybody's close?
In terms of people that I trust right now, Walter Clayton.
I would say over the past month, Walter Clayton is honestly with the injury, you could argue Walter Clayton has been better than Cooper Flag over the past month.
At the end of that game, you knew where the ball was going, and when he was fading, turning to set up for that three that made it a 6-point game, I knew it was going in.
It was automatic.
He hits those shots every single time, it feels like.
I think that's the entire way about Florida. Like, if they're playing their best, no one's going to beat them. Even Duke, even Houston, even Auburn. I don't think anybody's beating Florida when they're playing their best. I mean, you can disagree with me, but I mean, over the past week or so, we've seen what their best looks like, and it's unstoppable. They're going to need to actually mess up themselves for someone to beat them.
Getting to the other matchup in the West region, Arkansas versus Texas Tech, the only double-digit seed left. And look, Texas Tech, admittedly, I haven't watched a ton of Texas Tech tape, but that guy on the other side, with those players, like, could we be seeing a Cinderella run from Coach Cal?
Can you consider it a Cinderella? This is my thing.
Double-digit seed.
They're a double-digit seed, but they're an SEC program that's had a ton of success, especially recently. They've been a pretty good program, and they have Coach Cal now. Can you really consider them a Cinderella?
I'm just looking at the seed, and you can, if it's double-digit, you're a Cinderella to me, no matter who you are.
Yeah, it just feels ugly that the underdog story of this tournament is Coach Cal and a school in the SEC that has their NIL program to just take Kentucky's entire team from last season.
Be like, come over here.
Like, all right, guys.
Plus Johnell Davis, who was one of the best guys on the portal as well.
And Boogie Flan,
your boy,
first team all name.
Yeah, yes.
The thing is, too, if Boogie Fland is healthy all year, Arkansas is definitely not a 10 seed. They are definitely ranked higher. He's been out since like January or whatever. I think if he's healthy most of the year, they're probably a 6 or a 7, and this run isn't as surprising as it has been.
It's just surprising if you're staring down the other side and Cal is there with the bravado, with the gravitas, and it's almost like he can command the game by himself, right? It almost feels like there's something just pulling him into victory. And I'd be very interested to see if Arkansas and Florida
I will say this
in that region.
I will say this. I haven't watched a lot of Texas Tech tape either.
Thank you.
But my boys who know a little bit more, who know more about college basketball than I do. Real Hoopers, they like Texas Tech. They've liked them all year. So coming into this bracket, when I saw Florida's draw, Texas Tech was the team I had an eye on. It's kind of like, that's a matchup I don't really want.
JT Toppin is the best player in this game, no question.
Okay. So if we're playing best player,
it's
JT Toppin, without a doubt.
I also just wrote down Ethan's friend group loves Texas Tech.
Yeah, that's
a great note. Good
note. Not as good as Mally's, but still great. And then the other stat you gave that you thought maybe they were 2-5 after a game winner, we don't know yet. But
I'll go find. I'll go dig that up.
Another good stat if it's true. If not, it's okay. All right, going to the South region, Ole Miss, Michigan State, in a game where these two teams kind of don't have any. It feels like the national conversation is not surrounding them whatsoever. Ole Miss just kind of happy to be there. Michigan State, Tom Izzo's got the boys playing well. Jace Richardson kind of catapulting up draft stock right now. It feels like if he can put together a good stretch run, he could be a top 10 pick, which is insane because at the beginning of the season, obviously you guys have been watching from the beginning. Izzo doesn't play freshman. He was kind of in between guard and 1 and 2. He's a combo guard, tries to get his own shot, sometimes a little bit undersized, but he's really come on as of late. Are you guys sold on Izzo, on Jace Richardson, on the Michigan State Spartans?
I like the Spartans. I mean, they're
you like but don't love.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that when they play their best, I think they can really hang with anybody. I think they can really hang with anybody, but we have seen some stretches from them, especially if Fears isn't playing well, especially if Akins isn't playing well, you saw the last game, Jace Richardson did not score until the last 2 minutes of the game. And granted, he had 2 incredible plays right at the end there, but when they're bad, they are very vulnerable of being upset against a team that's not really that good.
I've always been an Izzo guy, because the G in Michigan State stands for getting hot at the right time.
Wow.
Feels like
another good note. Write that down.
Feels like they're always playing their best basketball come March. I don't know what it is about Izzo, but every year you listen to the analysis and it's Michigan State's getting hot at the right time, and he finds a way to get the boys going this time of year. Also, I have that stat that against.
Were you right or were you wrong?
The last 4 teams to hit 1 at the buzzer to win are 1-3 in their next game and 1-3 ATS. Take it back a little further, those teams are just 2-7 straight up in their next game, possibly suggesting a trend.
So good note, wrong, but good note.
Ole Miss, Michigan State, great coaching matchup between
Chris Beard
and Izzo.
And if you want some secret sauce, Tony, Pagula.
Padula pulled one right between the eyes on
is the
on
secret
Taylor.
sauce. This is the secret sauce that you have been looking for.
Padula put the dagger through my heart.
I've never seen Taylor look so dejected.
Taylor like John
that
F.
shot
Kennedy.
goes up. I looked it up and I'm like, oh God.
Is Auburn in trouble with Michigan's big lineup? Playing 2 7-footers. They're not incredibly skilled. I think Golden is nice. I think Wolf is okay. Does the size give Auburn an issue, or just Broom is just too good, and he's going to kind of be able to go above whatever Michigan's going to throw
Michigan
out.
turns the ball over so much. That's going to be the difference in this game to me. Auburn is a great defensive team. We all know this. If they can get the steals that they're supposed to get and the turnovers that they're supposed to get, I don't think this is going to be a very close game.
For all the teams in the Sweet 16, if I'm looking at one team and being like, how did they get here right now?
It's Michigan?
It's Michigan, yeah. Where it's like, nothing that they're doing should be working when you're starting 2 7-footers, but Dusty May
coach.
figured it out.
He's a great coach. That's true.
Good coach. All right. East Region, BYU and Bama.
This is going to be my team.
The BYU Cougars?
No. I do love Kevin
I thought
Young.
you were with Richie Saunders and them boys.
Yeah, I do love Kevin Young. Alabama, they play at the fastest tempo in the country, and I have this note. If they hold you under 100 points, they've got you right where they want you. Because this team can light it up. They're going to push the pace. They're going to score. They're one of the only 2 teams in this field in the Sweet 16 that made the Final Four last year, the other being Purdue. And I like this Alabama team a lot more than Purdue. And then March, it's guard play. Mark Sears, one of the best guards in the country. And I like their path enough where if they could get past BYU, that team with that kind of experience, Nate Oates, great coach, maybe they could pull the upset off in the next game against Duke. Because Duke is my most complete team, and I think this is Duke's best team in 20-plus years. But I do love the fact that this Alabama team has been there, done that.
Is there a case for BYU? Is
shooting.
there an angle? Shooting.
If they get hot
Secret
from
sauce.
3, Richie Saunders, the secret sauce. If they can get hot from 3, I think they can beat Bama. Bama's really if they're good, if they can shoot the ball well, you're not going to beat them. They're going to score 100 points on you, and they're going to run you out of the gym because they shoot the ball. I think over half the time within the first 10 seconds of the shot
Let it
clock.
rip, yeah.
You're just not going to be able to keep up with that pace. But BYU is probably the closest team that can do it.
For BYU to win this game, they're going to have to score 110 points.
I'll always
Have they
take
scored
the team,
110 points all year? Have they?
I'll always take the team that goes quick. People were saying St. John's might be a bad matchup for Florida because they could slow Florida down. I'm always going to take the team that's better at going quick and going fast and scoring a ton than the team that needs to slow the game down. Because if you get into a shootout, it's over.
And it's also a bit misleading with their pace of play, but Alabama has 6 scorers in double figures. So it's not like you're just relying on Mark Sears.
Right. Okay. All right. Duke, Arizona. Basically, the only story in town for Arizona is Caleb Love, who Taylor's very fond of. Would you say fond of or just respect?
I love Caleb Love.
Wow, you love Caleb Love.
Yeah.
They've got no shot.
Yeah. This Arizona team, they're one of the most frustrating teams to watch, and the whole thing with them is they're going to go as far as Caleb Love takes them. When Caleb Love is bad, he is horrible, and he will shoot.
Speak from experience.
He will shoot your team right out of the game. But then you have moments like the 2022 Final Four where he puts the dagger in Coach K, and you're like, wow, this kid is going places. But
he was going to Arizona is where he was
going. One-way ticket to Arizona.
Taylor said if Caleb Love beats Duke, he wouldn't be opposed to them putting a Caleb Love Arizona jersey in the rafters at North Carolina.
Wow, the Dean Dome.
Just put it up there twice because he retired Coach K the first time.
Yep.
Wow.
Why isn't Arizona your team? Wouldn't you want them to take out Duke
They're
with your boy?
They're the dumbest team in the country, bro. They make so many stupid mistakes. Like, I mean, no, you look, KJ Lewis hanging on the rim, dunks again, technical foul for absolutely no reason. Oregon goes on to make a run. They had one of the worst goaltends I've ever. The ball was basically over the hoop, and the guy just swatted against the backboard for no reason. They are a very dumb team, and they make a lot of very silly mistakes.
And they're going against who I think is the best team in this tournament by far. So I just don't love this matchup for Arizona.
And we talk about Flag, obviously. We talk about Knipple. We talk about Malawak. I always mess up his name. The dude that has impressed me the most has been Tyrese Proctor. Dude has not missed in 3 games. Like, he puts the ball up and it's going in. The game that they played this past week, who did they play? Baylor. Over the weekend. Dude, anytime he touched the ball, it was going in from 3, little runners, stuff off the glass. Like, if he's your 4th guy and he does not miss from the field, you're going to win. Like, that's the easiest thing I can do. You've got a number 1 pick, you've got 2 lottery guys, and you've got a 4th guy who doesn't miss. It's a very good recipe for a team that's going to win a national championship.
Proctor shoots 41.5% from 3. Zion James shoots 39.7, and then Knipple shoots 39.3. So that's
what has Proctor shot in the last 2 games? Like 65%, 70%.
But when that's your backcourt, he's 13 of 16 from 3.
What's that? What's that math?
That is 81% from 3.
You're not beating Duke if Tyrese Proctor is shooting.
It's shooting
not a math
81% from 3. 81.
It's amazing how Duke basically didn't miss a step after Coach K retired. And it kind of looked like North Carolina was going to do the same. I don't want to stab a dagger in the heart of Taylor here. Well, they go to the national championship game the year after Roy Williams retires, and you're kind of like, oh, these guys aren't going to miss a step. And still, they're still hanging around. They're a tournament team every year. But the way that Duke has just, under John Shire, I mean, they've got the best team in the country, 3 years after Coach K retires. It's pretty unbelievable.
Prisoner of the moment. We swept them last season. People don't want to mention that.
Could this game be the most exciting game? 3-2 matchup, Kentucky versus Tennessee. Kentucky's already beaten Tennessee twice this season, right? Tennessee's going in. Rick Barnes and them boys, Chaz Lanier, and all the hype that has the Tennessee backing. But Kentucky, Mark Pope, he's got those guys playing well. Could this be the best matchup we see in the Sweet 16?
I mean, I think if Jackson Harrison was healthy, I don't see Tennessee beating Kentucky again. But without Jackson Harrison, I mean, that's such a big loss. He was so good for Kentucky this year. I really think it's similar to Caleb Love. As far as Lamont Butler is going to take this Kentucky team, I think that's how far they'll go. He has the experience. He played in the national championship 2 years ago with San Diego State. I mean, he's really been a great player. He's hurt too. That's the only thing. I think this is where Tennessee finally gets them and Rick Barnes gets back into the Elite Eight. But it's kind of a similar thing. When Kentucky's shooting well, they're hard to beat as well.
Who's Kentucky's best player?
Lamont Butler.
No, the guy that was hurt.
Oh, Jackson Harrison.
No, Jackson Robinson.
That's
sorry. $2. Yeah, sorry.
Kentucky put up 106 on the Gators earlier this year, and so they're a team, like Mally was just saying, that when they're at their best, they can just score like lights out. They went on like 3 16-0 runs in that game somehow. It was absolutely insane. I have Kentucky in the Final Four.
Taylor's boy Kobe Bryant too, who's another sniper. One electric player, sniper from deep. When he's going, it's hard to stop Kentucky.
All right, Mally, floor is yours. Purdue Houston. We know Purdue's a bunch of bums. We said it last year. I was very low on Zach Edey last year. Hated Zach Edey last year. Guy's a statue in the middle of the paint. Guess what? He's a statue in the NBA too. Even though Memphis is like a 5 seed. Not the point.
Isn't he going to win Rookie of the Year?
No, he's definitely not going to win Rookie of the Year. Stephon Castle is. Got a little quid on that too, by the way. Anyways, more importantly, Mally, defend your Houston Cougars.
I mean, On rating, they're the second best team in the country, but I don't think anyone plays with as much intensity as them. There was a moment during the Gonzaga game where they caught Kelvin Sampson just yelling, "Play harder!" at his guys, like in the middle of a Gonzaga run. And in my opinion, he's the best coach left in the tournament. I think he gets more out of his players than anyone else does. The big difference, Houston's been really good for a few years now. In my opinion, the difference between this team and those past teams is this team on offense is better than any of them. LJ Cryer he's my player of the tournament so far. That last game against Gonzaga, he dropped 30, was absolutely unguardable. Tugler and Juwan, forgetting his name, the other big guy in the paint, are incredible defensively when they're really hard to out-rebound. You can't out-effort them, like I said. This Purdue team is a lot better than people give it credit for, but I think with Matt Painter versus Kelvin Sampson, it's such a mismatch.
Just going to get out-coached?
Yeah.
Houston, since 2019, Sweet 16, COVID, Final Four, Elite 8, Sweet 16, and now the Sweet 16.
Kelvin Sampson wins, dude. Like, he just wins in the tournament, and I don't think that's going to stop.
I was surprised when I looked up their results before the tournament at how I knew they've been around a lot recently, but it's not just they're a 1 seed, a 2 seed, a 3 seed, and then they go out early. It's they're a 1 seed, a 2 seed, a 3 seed, and then they go deep into the tournament. They're a super dangerous team. When I saw them in the, obviously it's a 1/16 game. The way they played in the 1/16 game, I thought they looked the best of any of the 1 seeds in the first round. And then they, that Gonzaga game ended up looking close. They had a big lead in the middle of that game. It looked over for Gonzaga very early on in that game. And I thought Gonzaga was a really good team that Houston, was in trouble of losing, in danger of losing to, and they just took it to Gonzaga. They're really good. They're really dangerous.
That's the one thing I would watch out for Houston. If you're going to pick a reason, if they don't have a big enough lead, they blow it almost every time. It happened in the Big 12 championship game to Arizona. They had a massive lead. They almost botched it at the end. They really just need to finish games well. And to be honest, I think if they keep the ball in LJ Cryer's hands, they're going to win. They've been giving the ball to Uzan, giving the ball to Malik Wilson, who are both great players, but they need to really shut down the game and not let the other team back.
Mally, what I've been told is that they play very, very slow.
They do, but they also make a high percentage of their shots, so the pace is not as big of a problem. And
are you a slow basketball lover, Mally? Are you a slow basketball lover?
But when you watch them, it doesn't feel so. You look at the intensity on the defensive end, they speed other teams up. Even though they may want to play slow on the offensive end, they're going to make other teams make mistakes. They're going to get a lot of turnovers, going to get a lot of block shots. I don't know what Taylor's whispering in your ear right now, Tony, but
he said last team he got excited about defensively was St. John's. They couldn't shoot their way out of a paper bag.
Well, I know, but Houston is not St. John's. If St. John's had LJ Cryer, they would not have lost.
LJ Cryer, by the way, national champion with the Baylor Bears.
I know we were talking about that on the show the other day.
How is he still in college basketball?
The opposite of St. John's, their three-point shooting is what you have in this Houston team. They're second in the country. They're shooting 39.84% for three.
All right, boys. Sweet 16 is set. We should have another Tony Brackets prior to the Elite Eight, and get everybody focused in on what's going on in college hoops. Thank you to Mally. Thank you to Ethan. Thank you to Taylor. Tony Brackets will be back next week with the breakdown for the Elite Eight. And as you know, my bracket's in the 95 percentile. I mean, it's all chalk this year, baby. So easy call.